Several years ago, I was driving a 12-passenger church van from Fort Worth, Texas to Clarksville, Tennessee. I had my wife, Jamie, 4 of our interns with us. We were on our way back from a conference, and although it was cold in Texas when we left, we had no idea that it had been icing, almost snowing in Tennessee. The temperature was way low, maybe a high in the 20s. It was freezing. So of course we prayed before we left the conference, but if I'm honest, we kind of prayed more out of a superstitious routine than real faith. You know, like when you pray for that double cheeseburger you're about to eat for the nourishment of your body. It's really more superstitious than believing that that's going to nourish your body. So we prayed one of those kind of prayers for the traveling mercy and all of that. We're about 30 minutes from home. So we've been driving for hours, 9-10 hours. We got about 30 minutes from home and we hit black ice on a bridge. We weren't even doing 30 miles per hour, but as soon as we hit the ice, that van shot like a rocket with a mind of its own. It slammed into the left side of the concrete barrier, spun us around, and we were headed straight for the other side and the water on the other side of that bridge. So I was mentally preparing myself for the cold water. I was also concerned about my new MacBook that just happened to be out because we were watching a movie in the back while we were driving. Thankfully, we bounced off the wall. We came to a stop. We all, including my MacBook, by the way, walked away from the wreck with some soreness, no lasting injuries. And at that moment, as we were speeding out of control, this thing all happens in a second, you know, if you've been in an accident. But at the moment, I was compelled to do 3 things. 1, resist the urge to jerk the wheel. My training kicked in, right? Don't jerk the wheel. Resist the urge to slam on the brake. That's my training again as a former transporter in the United States Army. Don't jerk the wheel, don't slam on the brakes, and pray. Now, I'm not the hero of that story because I prayed. Jesus is the hero, obviously. But think about what you do when life starts spinning out of control, when you're in a hardship, when the proverbial feces hits the fan in your life. What is your response? During desperate times, do you panic or do you pray? Do you jerk the wheel, try to control things to regain control of your life? When push comes to shove, what we know is that people never rise to the occasion. They typically fall back on their lowest level of training. They fall back on muscle memory. And here's the thing about memory in the brain. Prayer makes a huge impact when it comes to that. In fact, the science of neuroplasticity has already proven that the human brain is constantly being formed and shaped. Researchers such as Dr. Carolyn Leaf and Andrew Newberg and others, they've written volumes on the power of prayer and its ability to shape our thoughts in a powerful way. If you've developed a habit of worry, fear, self-reliance, then that is what you will always run to first. However, if you practice the presence of God via prayer, all things are possible. No wonder New Testament authors such as Paul encourage the church to pray without ceasing, to pray, to go to God in prayer. James says to pray. James actually started his conversation on all things Christian faith with prayer. He said, if you are in trouble, if you are in hardship, you should pray. So in our car accident, prayer wasn't the only thing that we could do, but it absolutely was the first and most important thing to do. And I believe it made all the difference. James says in verse 13 of chapter 5, are you suffering hardships? You should pray. Are any of you happy? You should sing praises. Are any of you sick? You should call for the elders of the church to come and pray over you. Look at the extremes of that passage. He's saying, are you suffering? So persecution. Are you cheerful? Everything is awesome. Are you sick? No matter what it is, pray. I love how he says you should pray, praise too. That means sing praises. That's praying to God through song, even in good times. That's why the singing portion of our church services is very important. It's not a concert. It's an invitation to collectively sing our prayers to God as we make much of him, who he is, and we cry out to him in our time of need. Praying the promises of God through praise and worship singing. It's a great way to develop the habit of prayer because prayer isn't our last resort. It's our first and best option. See you next time.